What's something we glorify in American culture that's actually extremely toxic? Individualism and selfishness, the whole pulled myself up by my bootstraps, I did this without help, and if it doesn't benefit me directly, then it's not something I support kind of mentality. We have gotten so individualistic that our communities have almost completely fallen apart. Millions of Americans are hostile to the very idea that they even need to get along with others. Going your own way is great when it means you don't let cultural norms shame you out of expressing yourself honestly and living your life the way you choose. It's terrible when it means you can't do the basics needed to ride on a plane or go to the theater or buy food at a restaurant without the cops being called. Our social programs and laws have been decimated on the grounds of me, 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 me. Hearing my tax dollars or I don't use X, why should I pay for it, are like nails on a chalkboard. For all intents and purposes, everyone is linked in a giant web of society. We're all stuck together and everything has a ripple. I know, right? It's all fun and games until your independent self needs a paramedic and suddenly, my tax dollars don't sound so bad, huh? Oh, and before I forget, other me's over on Rufus stories doing what he does best, unpacking some crazy relationship stories, man. It's a good time, I promise. Links in the description if you're down. All right, back to the stories. Story 2. Cars and car-centric life are problematic. Literally, there are toxic fumes from the engines, toxic debris from the tires and brakes, and toxic fluids leaking everywhere. And then the vast amounts of concrete and pollution associated, all with known issues affecting the health of humans nearby. Heck, we got rid of lead and gas, and all of a sudden the population at large became less violent. Then there is the lack of general activity. 10,000 steps is roughly 2 hours of walking. How often do doctors complain about people just not generally being active? Compare that 2 hours of walking to how long your commute to work and back is. Fewer cars, less parking, and everything is closer together, you can walk to more things, and you don't spend a large portion of your income on just transportation. Story 3. I read that at the end of ancient Rome, it was thought that pity, empathy, etc. were forms of mental illness, and we're getting there in the US. I was just reading today where people were making fun of those who wanted tax dollars to provide free lunches to school kids. We all know there are many kids who live in poverty and or live with cruel parents, but who cares? They are on their own. That's a harbinger of ugly times to come. Story 4. Quote-unquote work ethic. While a good work ethic isn't bad, in the US we've taken it to the extreme to the point it blurs the line with exploitation. We tell people it's good work ethic to take duties beyond what was agreed without extra compensation, to take as little PTO or sick time as possible, to effectively be on call at all times, that overtime must be worked to work on Sundays, on holidays, etc. People forget we work to live, not live to work. While in places like Germany, it is common to see most places closed after 6 p.m. or on Sundays. In the US, I've been called mid-vacation and asked to cut it short, constantly asked to take on completely unrelated work, told that I must stay for mandatory overtime, and been quote-unquote unofficially reprimanded for not answering my phone on my day off. Work ethic, always being on time, doing your job, etc. is good, but we've normalized exploitation under the guise of work ethic. Story 5. As a non-American living in America, here are some observations. Not using a bidet in the toilet because using them is considered indecent behavior. White savior complex, creating problems where they don't exist just to do virtue signaling. Not allowing your family to know when you're suffering to seem independent. America-only mindset. I completely understand and support America first, but it often becomes America-only where other cultures or practices are either not acknowledged or considered inferior. For example, violence and terminations are issues that America suffers from, but a lot of other countries don't. Americans can look at them for plausible solutions, but no, they won't. Blind romanticization of European culture and equal disdain for Eastern culture. Story 6. Single mamas. There's nothing glamorous or amazing about it. When I came up, my mama, who's never been anywhere near being a single mama, didn't let us watch Gilmore Girls. Her answer at the time was because it made a single parent look like it always worked out and that it was something anybody can do, and it's neither of those things. The use of social media and the driving need for everything right now all at once because some influencer said this or that about it. Kids putting themselves into hock with $100,000 weddings, $250,000 houses, 3 kids right off the rip, and the need for a Range Rover. This is not a career. This is not a rags to riches story. It doesn't happen to everybody, although the TikToks will have you believing everyone should have a platform. It's breeding resentment, contempt, entitlement, and mental destruction. Story 7. My mom and I had a fun conversation a few weeks ago. She thought that life in America was a lot better, it's cheaper than here, the Netherlands, and healthcare is free. She heard that a lot of people don't have healthcare, so she assumed that it was just free for everyone and you only had to pay if you wanted extreme things to be covered, like cosmetic surgery. So I explained to her that healthcare is really bad there, a lot of people can't afford it because it's so expensive, and getting medical attention could bankrupt someone. In general, life is cheaper, but when it comes to healthcare, it sucks. She was so shocked with the information that she sat in silence and had trouble processing this info. It's cute how older people think of the world. Story 8. Mom, Dad, the kids, Jack and Allie, and even for goodness sake, Rex the Labrador being healthy and happy and fit at 35% plus body fat. Short-term economic gains over long-term economic sustainability and quality of life. The political party you favor, despite how much each is full of expletive sellouts and increasingly corrupt, don't care about any of you peasants. How much the boomers have for retirement versus how much and what quality of life/rights the posterity will have. Welfare for Israel, not for the poor in your own country. Violently outing, canceling, destroying anything that doesn't fit the narrative on your side of politics. Always standing behind your leaders when your leaders are self-serving garbage and doing shady things, ignoring serious homegrown issues regardless of party for personal gain at all costs. Story 9. Hours worked. I could be wrong, but there are only 1 or 2 other cultures that care as much as we do, Japan being the primary suspect. Recently, I saw someone bragging that they work 70 hours a week and their employer didn't pay OT. Buddy, that is not a flex. You're working yourself ragged for someone who doesn't even care. My first real boss would always tell me to get the heck out of his office the moment the clock struck 5. When I asked why, he told me his boss always expected him to stay late and that he never wanted to be the one keeping us from our lives and family. I try and would like to think I do the same for the employees that answer to me nowadays. Story 10. I'm going to be brave and say the most controversial yet 100% true answer, the U.S. military. The U.S. has been the villain and aggressor throughout the majority of its existence. We allow the military into public schools to let children suffer for the rich, and are expected to robotically tell vets, "Thank you for your service." Nah, maybe you shouldn't even have been invading other nations. Of course, the locals fight in any way they can. The U.S. military is just scum and most are too brainwashed to see it. Oh, also the Pledge of Allegiance, total brainwashing. Story 11. Competition, when too much is too much. A little competition is good, fun, and aids productivity, but we Americans take it way too far. I've seen 2 grown men passing each other in a hallway turn farting into a competition. I've seen executives commit horrible crimes in the name of competition. It wasn't even necessary for them to quote-unquote win. I've seen projects totally demolished by infighting. Companies defraud tens of thousands to outcompete their rivals. We do so many unethical things just to be competitive. Story 12. Basically every aspect of American culture. I have a special hatred for work/professional culture. I hate that so much stuff is obfuscated under 5 levels of business talk. Everything is veneers, and you constantly have to walk on eggshells around all of your higher-ups because you never know when they want to power trip and mess up your life permanently for the fun of it. I hate that you can never directly tell people what you're thinking in a work setting. You're stuck with some of the most wildly incompetent people you'll ever meet, and you have to pretend their work is the same quality as yours, and you're both worth the same to the company, which is nothing. You're both worth nothing to the company. Nobody in any position is on your side, but you're expected to bend over backwards and sacrifice everything in your life for them in return. Working in an office setting is so soul-rending, and pulling up the ladder behind you is expected for those that do get something out of it. Story 13. Car culture, it's so toxic, it's destroyed neighborhoods. It isolates people from one another and has caused countless injuries. Americans are so blind to how car-dependent they are that they can't imagine other countries or cities being less dependent on cars as the primary mode of transportation. Like, I see Americans going, "Oh my god, I want to go to Japan to experience the car culture. Those freaking Fast and Furious movies, I swear. Car culture in Japan? Like, yeah, it exists, but in a factual sense, it isn't like Tokyo Drift." Sadly, though, the pressure for a quote-unquote car culture like in Fast and Furious means some locals are creating a faux culture for tourists. You'd never see cars revving their engines in Ginza or Omotesando before all of this nonsense was imported from the US. But Americans think everywhere else is either just like them, quaint, or Disneyland, so, Story 14. The American Dream. It's literally what every person on the planet wants, besides a couple of fools who want more and a couple of unfortunates who would settle for their fixations. Quote-unquote Americanizing, it is just a form of othering by creating the basic assumption that this is something Americans want. But if this is what Americans want, then what other people want must be different somehow, right? By inviting the notion of such a basic concept, you lay the groundwork for us versus them rationale. The idea itself isn't a bad one, but with the wrong sort of push, you can build very bad behavior onto this foundation. Of course, you might develop this opinion into a full-blown nationalism bad argument, which, yes it is. Story 15. Literally advocating for yourself, you get told, "Don't be the nail that sticks out," yet you're holding the whole thing together that the older coworkers are now too good or too important to do. And if you do, you're told, "Hey, you haven't really been a team player lately. You need to step it up because next week I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. Meanwhile, you have coworkers who don't even show up half the time being paid better than you. Story 16. Religious extremists, the kind that hate on LGBTQ plus people, minorities, and anyone who's not 100% like them. Those people are in government and also get their ass kissed by some of the country's top leaders if they're not in government. From what I've heard, they can even say they have a ministry to get out of paying taxes. I don't know exactly how that works, but I'm going to look it up, and these are the same idiots that cry persecution when they get any pushback. Story 17. 1. Overwork. While hard work is admirable, working too hard to the point of exhaustion not only risks the quality of your work, but could also risk other people's safety. It creates an avenue for exploitation by companies who spin overworked employees as dedicated individuals doing their part for the team. Read, everyone should work equally as hard. 2. Wealth. Having money is great and having a lot of money is even better, but pursuing wealth for the sake of wealth creates at best a vain culture and at worst a greedy one. 3. Celebrities. It's not wrong to like people who star in the media you like, but people can become overly obsessed with celebrities in very unhealthy ways. Add to this the tendency of people to adopt their favorite celebrities' views on nuanced social, economic, and political topics, and you end up with a reality TV show for a government. 4. The American dream. The big house tends to be poorly constructed, the spouse will likely divorce you, and your children are not guaranteed a better life than your own. At least the picket fence can stay white. 5. Individualism. Be free to be your own person, but remember that no person is an island unto themselves. Sometimes it's not bad to go along with the crowd and embrace the community. 6. American history. Yes, there's a lot to be proud of, but there's a lot that gets sidelined as troubles of the past that need to be addressed to better contextualize the state of current affairs. 7. Ourselves. Americans see themselves as main characters in the world, while other countries may see us merely as another former British colony. 8. Militarism. Yes, war machines are impressive pieces of engineering that make loud sounds and destroy things. This is undeniably impressive. But war is not a video game, nor is it something to glorify in the culture. Furthermore, domestic militarism not only feels out of place for a country at peace, but serves as an escalating factor between law enforcement and suspects. 9. Consumerism. You don't need everything advertised, nor should you purchase something simply because it can be purchased. 10. Righteous paranoia. Nobody is coming to get you or your family, probably. The government is not spying on you, at least not how you think it is. That thing you suspect is happening probably isn't, and even if it is, you won't be celebrated as a soothsayer if it comes true. Story 18. Consumerism to the level we have it. Status based on possessions, disposable clothing and single-use items, massive amounts of plastic packaging, overworking culture, work as an identity, always being more tired and busy than everyone else. Extreme independence, immediately jumping to cutting people off or getting revenge or petty revenge or divorce or ghosting after the first inconvenience instead of working things out, obviously to a reasonable extent. Military culture, not in general, but how we propagandize it, con young people into joining. Story 19. Botox injections, extensive plastic surgery on our faces and various body parts, fake eyelashes, fake pieces of long hair attached onto our own bits of real hair or onto our scalp. I'm not sure how those hair extensions work exactly. We are creating a couple of generations of fake-looking human beings. What is so wrong with aging naturally? And what about the epidemic of fatness and type 2 diabetes? How about we stop stuffing our faces with fattening and toxic foods, stop eating after 15 minutes at mealtime because we are full, and just need to wait for our brain to catch up with the feeling of fullness? Before you vilify me for being a fat-phobic person or someone who has weight stigma or whatever dislike of overweight people, I was overweight for more than 20 years. I had a high metabolism until I turned 40 years old, and then I started to gain weight, slowly but surely, because I thought I could still eat 3,000 calories per day and not gain weight. I was wrong. But now, at the age of 67 years, well, in reality, I have been on this path for 5 years. I know that my belly is full at around 1/4 of what I used to eat at one meal, so I stop. I might still feel hungry, but I stop. Then my brain catches up and I realize I am no longer hungry. If I don't stop and wait for my brain to catch up, I feel nauseated until the next afternoon. Let's just all age gracefully, being the beautiful older people we are. Story 20. After a quick read through the comments, I see one thing missing that is so overlooked in American society: the obsession with group identity. Democrat, Giants fan, blue collar, college degree, white, Christian. Humans are tribal by nature, sure, but Americans treat every little box they can fit into with a kind of nationalism, more so than actually being American. It's as if their group identities are more important than their own personal ones, more important than safety at times. This ties into the addiction with being in the winning team, no matter what. Their tribe has to be on top even if they are on the bottom of their internal social structures. Story 21. Work and everything surrounding it. Don't have a full-time job? Guess you don't need healthcare. Just had a baby? Back to work after 6 weeks. Vacation? Sick time? Hilarious. You are lucky to get 2 weeks of paid time for the year. Don't get married, don't have kids, don't travel, don't need medical care, don't care for your home, don't have friends, don't have identity in anything besides your job. Just work every day and make money for America or your life is worthless. That's the reality of American work culture. Ah, yes, the American dream, where your only identity is your LinkedIn profile. Story 22. As a non-American, one thing that always strikes me is treating one partner's beauty or attractiveness as someone's accomplishment. This, wow, his partner's so hot, he is successful mentality. It is present in pop culture as this attractive lady is a reward for a hero, as if genuine feeling couldn't be a motivation for a lasting relationship. Maybe I am wrong, but I felt that vibe from all friends I had from the US, and they were from such different worlds that it could not be explained as a bubble. Story 23. Religion, specifically the idea that we have to respect everybody's religious beliefs. The fact that our country has become a fascist hellhole with a con man who thinks he's a dictator, and it's evangelical Christians who got him elected, and they control all aspects of our federal government, and the majority of state and local governments as well. Though personally, I do respect all religions equally. That is, I have no respect for any of them. It's frickin' 2025, and we are harming each other over a bunch of fairy tales. Story 24. Glorifying work as if work itself is what matters and not the life that it provides. We should work to live, not live to work. Also, the idea that being ruthless is a good thing. Way too many people saw Gordon Gekko as a role model and not the cautionary tale that he was. Prison isn't the real issue. The issue was that he was a horrible person who destroyed the lives of everyone that he could get his claws into. So many people glorify that kind of behavior thinking that it's fine because the world is tough. No, the world is tough because of so many people acting like greedy, evil schmucks and justifying it to themselves as just business. Story 25. Hard work, working hard, usually gets you no recognition. It's glamorized only for making wealthy CEOs money. You will still get pennies as payment no matter how hard you work. You can also end up working yourself to death and experience health problems related to burnout or other physical ailments depending on the job you do and how often you do it. We are humans, not machines. We are not made to work 24/7. If you want recognition, be the workplace favorite. Story 26. The military. I'm not naive. You need the military. We don't live in some fairy tale utopia. But the way Americans glorify and worship military service is bonkers to most of the rest of the free world. In most other developed countries, serving in the military is respected but not worshipped. You'll never hear Australian airports boarding Aussie service people first, shops giving discounts, or sporting events paying tribute to them outside of specific days of remembrance. Australian service personnel also typically never wear their uniforms unless they are on duty or commuting to and from, and nobody stops to thank them for their service or anything. They're just normal people with jobs. Story 27. Work, specifically work as a ceremonial sacrifice. Work has long been important and can be a noble pursuit when it actually pushes back the ever-present menace of economic scarcity, but too many people seem to regard work as a moral necessity even when it's not useful. Like, even if we make robots to actually produce everything, we should still ceremonially perform unproductive drudgery for 40 hours or more per week in order to build character and justify not starving or something like that? It sounds like a really cruel, depressing attitude. Story 28. College education. Most of us, especially in Gen Z, were raised to think that having a degree automatically means you will succeed in life. But then there comes debt and entry-level positions that either won't hire you because you don't have experience or they hire you but you are still stuck for years paying back loans. Think wisely before going to college. There are plenty of other debt-free options where you can still make some money, like the military or working your way up the ladder in a job that just requires certification. And if you're learning a thing or two from these stories too, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 29. Probably not just American culture, but pressuring people to have kids or shaming child-free people. For instance, you'll mention in passing that you don't have any children, or someone will ask if you have kids, and as soon as you say you don't want kids or don't plan on ever having them, suddenly you've offended everyone that is and was in their lineage for the past 300 years. How dare you not want children? And it'll just be like 10 minutes of them trying to convince you that even though you don't get any sleep, you have to clean up horrendous messes and you have to spend so much money and all that stuff. Having a child is the best thing anyone and everyone has ever done for themselves. Like, no, Sharon, I like my weekends to be free and I like to come home to a clean house. And I know I would be an awful parent because I have anger issues and I would forget I'm speaking to actual people when I get mad at them. Not to mention, I have so many things that run in my family that I don't want to pass down to a child. People forget that not having kids is the default. You are not born and you have children. It is a choice and a very life-changing choice to have kids, and some people don't want that for themselves. I would like to say that I don't hate kids, I just don't want to be around one constantly and have to pay someone just to have a break. I also don't want any of the side effects that come from pregnancy. Either way, I shouldn't have to explain myself anytime anyone asks me if I want kids. It's my life, and also the economy right now is terrible, and the earth is doomed, so it wouldn't even really be ethical to bring a new person into the world anyway, in my opinion. Story 30. Nationalistic pride. Pride should be reserved for actions that you and those close to you did. If you complete a goal or have an accomplishment, be proud of that. If a family member or close friend does, be proud of them. For things that were done without your influence whatsoever, like splitting from England or being on the winning side of world wars, you should be grateful to those who actually did it, instead of somehow proud of yourself. The same should be said about being proud of yourself for supporting a sports team, living in a specific place, having a specific family name, etc. Unless you did something to achieve any of those, you should be grateful instead of proud, and you certainly shouldn't make them into your identity. Story 31. The obsessive pursuit of wealth. CEOs all around the country routinely make incredibly destructive decisions in the name of fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders and their own personal wealth. Many people are sacrificing their personal lives and any hope of family in search of greater wealth. People terminate, destroy relationships, and feed their most sociopathic selves just to acquire more wealth. We compare ourselves to one another based on wealth. There's perhaps nothing more toxic in our society than this. It is actively destroying us as we speak. Story 32. Rugged individuality, to the point where it sacrifices community and doesn't acknowledge that in the modern era, there are powers at play that handily dominate any non-billionaire individual and their decisions if they don't unite with others. Misinformation, disinformation, large market manipulation, data science, and its ability to quickly distill human actions into actionable data points for large interests. This idea has been used against us as a tool to keep us from realizing we are 330 million plus people who can change things. Story 33. Celebrities. I want to preface by saying that I don't think it's completely horrible, but I don't agree with the degree to which American society holds its celebrities, whether it be movie, sports, or musical artists. At every outlet, the amount of focus on them is too much, and the amount of influence they have over people's viewpoints, while not necessarily having the credibility, is absurd. Just because they're famous, rich, and beautiful doesn't make them an authority on everything. The fact that a B-list celebrity like Jenny McCarthy had enough influence to help push forward the anti-vax movement dumbfounds me. The fact that the Kardashian family would be considered some of the strongest influences in the media today is ridiculous. Story 34. I might get heat for this, but alcohol. My freshman year of college, I hadn't drank yet, and I decided to watch other people and let them be my guinea pigs before I had at it. I witnessed so much horrible stuff and had so much horrible stuff happen to me because someone else was intoxicated. I lost friends, had to clean up other people's messes, at one point feared that someone was going to throw me off a balcony, and had my heart broken, of course. And that's why I'm sober to this day. Alcohol just really is not worth it. But wine has antioxidants. Yeah, so does a bowl of grapes. Story 35. Expensive, larger than necessary weddings and receptions. Believe it or not, spending $50 plus per plate of food on 100 plus guests, many of whom may not even be close family or friends, is entirely superfluous and unnecessary. Nobody is going to remember what the overpriced flower arrangements look like or how the smoked tilapia tasted. It should be a joyous occasion to celebrate with those that matter most. Instead, it's often a bucket of stress and financial gymnastics. The best wedding I've ever been to was in my sister's backyard, followed by live music and a carne asada truck for catering food. I'll remember sitting around a fire pit shooting the stuff with my uncles and cousins for years to come. Conversely, I'll also remember watching my parents stress over helping one of my other sisters front some of the expenses for her huge wedding over a 12-month span. Story 36. Being so busy. Being busy has become glorified as some kind of virtue. It's ridiculous. I've been part of group conversations with other moms in my kids' classes, all trying to outdo each other with all the busy. And then they look at me like, so what are all your kids' activities and lessons and clubs and groups? None. They are 4 and 6. They go to school, they play outside, they do their homework, we eat supper together at the table, and they are in bed by 7 p.m. every night. On weekends, we go out as a family to museums or nature parks. They often have birthday parties to attend, and that's as much busy as I'm willing to have in my life. I can't imagine spending hours driving to and participating in activities or lessons several evenings a week and getting them to bed at 8:30 or 9 at night. When they are much older, they'll be able to choose one activity, lesson, or sport they'd like to do for 2 terms or the full school year. Being so busy is not a virtue. It doesn't make you a better person. You aren't winning. Instead, you're missing out on the quiet moments where your kids share things they're thinking about. You're depriving your kids of the fun of being bored, but then coming up with something truly inventive to do. Conversely, people with simple schedules who refuse to overcommit themselves are not lazy or losers. Stop the glorification of busy. Story 37. Being an influencer on social media, most of them don't do anything but post them traveling and advertising endorsements. People praise these people for literally doing nothing. I have a couple of friends who do this, and it's ridiculous. They put on this fake happy demeanor and act like their life is amazing when really it's not. One time, my friend was super sick but hadn't posted for a couple of days. She put a bunch of makeup on and went to a coffee shop and put the title Afternoon Coffee, Loving Life. When I asked her why she's lying, she said, I have to, it's my job. She then went home all sick and sad and slept. It's just sad because they only influence stupid people to be unrealistic about life. They can use a platform for more, but don't. Story 38. Being cold, emotionless, apathetic. There's still a startling amount of people who think emotions are a weakness and that the epitome of being cool is being a cynical schmuck. I used to believe this too, way back when, but looking back, it was just a terrible coping mechanism to try and avoid dealing with my actual problems. It's a terrible mindset to get into. It stifles you. Emotions give us strength, they motivate us to continue on, and honestly, cynical people just suck the life out of everything. Who wants to be the party pooper? Don't be afraid to express yourself. Story 39. Microtransactions and crappy mobile phone games. Listen, casuals, you may think spending 50 cents to get an outfit or something is harmless and exciting, but this process is transitioning from the mobile department to the console/PC department. Now these scummy loot boxes and microtransactions are infecting AAA's $60 games. We already paid for the game. Now the big corporations are going to twist our arms to pay even more, and unaware parents will give their children their credit card info and then be down a few $1,000s. Remember when games just, had content? Simpler times before my wallet needed a respawn button. Story 40. The USA and its adherence to the same two-party system or get ignored. We're terminating people in war for profit and locking you up for profit for nonviolent crimes at home. People are terminating people left and right, but remember, freedom. We also outsourced your job and cut your wages from $25 an hour in the 90s to $12 an hour for the same job in 2018. But things cost twice as much as well because we just can't manage to stop increasing our profit margins, even at the expense of the working class being on welfare. Keep electing rich, out-of-touch individuals. See how that works. The president's tweets should be an indication. Not that Obama was much better. He did everything I mentioned too. He was just more well-behaved and polite about harming you. Story 41. Optometrist here. For some reason, patients seem to think it's funny that they overuse, overwear, extend, sleep in, or otherwise misuse their contact lenses. They are sometimes sheepish about it, but often they say it in an almost bragging way, like, look at what I got away with, just like people who speed while driving. Oh, I was going 80 in a 55 zone, but I slowed down fast enough for the cop not to catch me. That doesn't make it any more safe, and when your eyes are on the line, you really shouldn't put yourself at this tremendous risk. You only get one pair of eyes, and it takes literally one bad infection to lose your vision for life. A scary growing business right now is online prescription renewals for contact lenses. Seriously, people will do anything to cut corners. I have known patients who were denied a contact lens renewal from another doctor show up on their best behavior in my office and try to outright lie to me. Your eyes don't lie, I can see everything you've done. No online test will do this, and some idiot rubber-stamping doctor will give their meaningless seal of approval on this patient. This is an illegal practice in some states, but making laws against telemedicine takes time. If lawmakers do their job, more and more states will ban it also. Story 42. People who are obviously obese and look unhealthy with 300 pounds body weight pose as Instagram models or whatever platform on earth, and everyone uses the term curvy and praises them as brave, bold, etc. Anyone who tries to point out that they are obese or fat will be slammed with he looks beautiful no matter what, or he, her, his body is his, her choice comments. Obese is obese, fat is fat, obese and fat are not healthy, period. Stop encouraging this kind of lifestyle. Okay, thanks, bye. Story 43. Billionaires' philanthropic efforts. No one should have the wealth to sway the direction of education, healthcare, democracy, or any other services within a nation. These wealthy men are essentially pretending to know what's best for the world and are shaping entire areas based on no expertise, but rather their whims and ideas of what's best for everyone. And yet, so many people seem to dream of these benevolent kings, hoping that they're going to somehow save us. It's quite sad how quickly people abandon democracy in favor of this nonsense. Story 44. The tipping system. It's a way for businesses to not pay their workers and make me feel like a schmuck for not tipping, even if my server is terrible. I've been to dinner with people before and have seen other people be delivered the wrong food and have their cups empty for the entire meal, and they still leave a decent tip. The system is not merit-based, and in countries I've been to where tipping isn't necessary, the service is either just as good or better than most American restaurants I've been to. Story 45. Apple products. The name used to mean quality and innovation, now it's just used to make money. Apple sells products without any way to repair them. You have to be certified to work on their products, and for new release products, it will take 6 months to get people certified to service them. Then, on top of that, they charge an arm and a leg to repair them. Easy fixes that would be simple if you owned a PC. Even the new iPhone is behind the current tech curve. Other companies are surpassing Apple, and they don't care. They just want your money. Story 46. When people patronize others who have mental disabilities and try to put them on a pedestal or give them a reward for being brave, I saw this one video where a kid who was limited to a wheelchair, literally could not move at all, and brought to a stage in an elementary school tried to sing, but it instead sounded like wailing, with some kids in the back well dressed and having to dance to the song he was singing. It was very uncomfortable to watch. Meanwhile, the teacher said, "You go, Jason," or something like that. I forgot his name. It makes me really angry when people do stuff like that so they can fill their ego and try to tell themselves they are such good people, when in reality, you just put a kid who has a horrible disability in a very humiliating situation. Story 47. How safe football helmets are? The NFL lately has been putting up ads that you may have seen. It's an ex-player designing helmets, saying he's making the game safer by using better technology and resources to protect players. It's a lie. There's absolutely no way to protect players from head injuries unless you can put a helmet around their brain. Every single player that plays football at any age will suffer from CTE if they play long enough. There is no helmet that can prevent it. The commercial is essentially lying to everyone that sees it. Story 48. There's this diner by me that is a subpar, run-of-the-mill diner at best, but they have a massive Instagram following. Why, you ask? No, because they post their crappy, substandard food piled up with stuff piled on stuff, and for some reason that I can't even come close to fathom, people think it's amazing. They make milkshakes. The actual milkshake part is a very below-average milkshake with freezer-burn ice chunks that have every little Debbie snack and Chips Ahoy cookie that they just picked up from the 7-Eleven next door that they stuck on a glass, then drowned in Nutella. Sometimes they'll throw a piece of store-bought crappy pie or cake on top. They do the same thing with their pancakes, French toast, and donuts. None of the actual food is anything special. The pancakes and French toast are very standard diner quality. I'm not even talking amazing Jersey late-night delicious greasy spoon hidden gem diner. No, this is subpar below-average diner food. The donuts look half-decent, but again, nothing special. But because they drizzle on a gallon of Nutella, then throw a snack cake on top of it, people lose their freaking minds. When you actually go to this diner, you can't even order this garbage that they post. It's not on the menu. Yet their posts get thousands of likes. It makes me so unbelievably, unreasonably angry at the world. Story 49. Just for being a parent, I see too much praise given to crappy parents. Parents that think they're winning at parenting by taking harmful shortcuts and not giving their kids what they actually need. Example, moms posting #adulting on social media paired with a photo of them getting intoxicated while their 5-year-old stays parked in front of a screen for 8 hours a day. Her friends then all like and comment, applauding it and enabling because they're likely just as bad or worse. Another example, dads that only see their kids once every other weekend just show up to take a selfie with the kid to look like he's a good dad on social media, then leave without actually dedicating any time to the kid, then probably uses the photos on his Tinder page and the cycle ensues. I think it's actually horrible to applaud people on reproducing if they can actually do a good job at it. And I think because this is a thing, people have kids just to have them and don't realize they're fully responsible for an entire human's happiness and health. Story 50. Keeping old pets alive forever, especially when they're clearly suffering. My cat is 20. She's blind and deaf and needs dialysis 4 times a week and lost all her teeth, and we have to clean her butt for her now, but we just love her so much to let her go. I appreciate that your pet is family and that you love them and will miss them terribly, but it's also so cruel to keep them alive only for them to suffer and have zero quality of life. I'm not saying that at the first sign of a sniffle, you rush them to the vet to be put down, and I know tons of people whose pets live well for much longer than anticipated, but if your elderly pet is in terrible pain or can't relieve themselves anymore, maybe consider that you're doing the right thing by letting them go. My mom's dog was almost completely blind, had debilitating arthritis, and had gone senile, biting people, running into things, crying almost constantly, and then he stopped eating. It still took her several months of trying new foods and tons of vet visits and ridiculous amounts of money before she finally accepted that it was time to let him go. And I get it, he helped her heal after my eldest sister passed away, and my mom loved him deeply, but the poor thing suffered so much. Both my dad and I felt that letting him get to that point was terrible for both my mom and the dog, and that he was around for probably 8 months longer than he should have been. Story 51. Paying for your own tuition for university. No, it doesn't build character. It leaves me with debt that my friends with parents who were able to pay their tuition don't have. All the time you spent making money to support your life is also time you take away from your studies and having a balanced life. I don't consider myself fortunate at all. If I had parents who actually wanted to or could pay my tuition, I'd accept the offer in a heartbeat. More time studying, joining extracurriculars, networking, and not going goddamn insane from stress. Story 52. For some reason, people commenting on how much you eat in an odd, I'm going to pretend I'm being concerned and I might be a little, but I'm being judgmental and snarky way, is really normal on both sides of the weight spectrum. I'm a small person, both height and weight-wise, and I've lost 14 pounds since this semester started. My appetite has just gone down in general, and stress makes my appetite go away, and I've been walking a lot. Thanksgiving was super stressful with my family telling me I needed to eat more, asking if I'm on a diet, asking if I'm eating at school, telling me I need to put meat on my bones. When I first went to school, I was a couple of pounds from being overweight for my size. I get their concerns and all, but I've told them that I'm fine and a lot of my family is overweight anyways. I don't know why they think they're experts on healthy eating. Please stop expecting me to eat like the rest of you do. Thanks. I'd actually be obese if I did. Story 53. Internet culture. I know this is gonna sound hypocritical, but hear me out. Of course, I spend a lot of time on the internet for entertainment and passing time, but God, I hate it. It's become a necessity of modern life, especially if you want to have a vibrant social life or varied entertainment. But the sort of global culture that surrounds the internet and the people on it is just so toxic. Internet culture started off great. You get to communicate with people across the world. Think of all the people you'll meet that have similar interests. But it ended up becoming this platform for crappy people to be crappier to each other and manipulate each other and divide each other into thought groups and categories. It's like the internet put a magnifying glass on the bad parts of society. They didn't reflect the best parts, they're still there. You just can't get to them without crossing a sea of blown up BS. Will I stop using it? Of course not, but that doesn't mean it sucks any less. Story 54. Yielding to people who don't have the right of way. You're not being helpful, you're only confusing people. Don't change the rules. I get that you're trying to be nice, but it's the opposite of help. You want to help me? Get out of the way. By the time I figure out why you're stopping, you could have been well gone. I can't tell you the number of times I've almost been hit because some well-intentioned but incompetent idiot decided to be nice. You have the right of way. Go. Oh, and you expletive who get angry because I don't accept your misguided charity out of concern for my safety can go away. And if any of these stories got to you, here's more for you. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video.